Yeah, but the fight this weekend though with Leon Edwards versus what was it? Should have been Belal Muhammad. Yeah, I was mixing up this weekend, the weekend before, but yeah, versus Belal Muhammad. It wasn't the big pay-per-view element of it, so that's why you didn't get the marquee name. In fact, this might have been a UFC Fight Night. If I can, let me see if I pull it up. Might have been just the title of UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Muhammad, because that's what they'll do for any of the like super stacked cards, or when it's not a belt on the line. Yeah, UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Muhammad. So that's how they worded it. But the big fight was just the main fight, right? You know how some cards, like we talked about a week ago, man, it didn't matter about the championship fight. You had the first one, like it's in the main event, then you had the co-main, then you had the championship fight that was leading up to the co-main. So it was so many other fights to really keep you, just locked in on this. Whereas this card right here, if you're not like a true UFC head, you weren't going to really dive into this card like that. But the main event, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, it was awesome in the sense of this was the first time we were seeing Leon Edwards back in the ring for almost 2 years. I mean, this dude has been right on the cusp of a title shot for a while now. But between injuries, between COVID, it's just he's had a string of bad luck, not on his side, on his opponent's side, where they just haven't been able to get to the ring against this guy. It's been crazy, but it was good to see him at least make it into the ring. And he did look good initially. He looked like we wanted him to look. He looked like a guy that's primed for a title fight in a division that isn't the most stacked right now, right? But he looked like a guy that was, ready to do some nice things. And then we get the accidental thumb poke to the eye and just ruin the whole event. It became deja vu, at least last week, right? With Aljamain and Piotr Jan, we knew it was egregious. We knew that, man, this was a dirty, move and this and that. With this, it was literally Leon is doing what he does, striking, kicking, and then before you know it, he just like jabs, but his hand is open and then bop. And I knew it was over when I seen my man Belal go to the ground. He's like, oh God, I can't see. I was like, oh Lord. Cause Bilal's tough. This dude is tough. He's been in some situations where he's then got cracked and he still comes out like nothing's wrong. So to hear him scream, oh God, I can't see. You're just like, oh man.
Is there a percentage of flopping at all? Like 10% maybe?
So look. We thought initially, I definitely thought flopping because in this situation, it would benefit Belal. Now, granted, it wasn't for a belt. So that was the unique element of it. But as a whole, it would definitely benefit Belal to be like, well, I didn't lose to Leon. It was a no contest. But when he actually rolled over and you could see his eyes starting to puff up, you could see where it was lacerated. You could see the blood coming out of it. It's just like, man, you can't, in that sport in particular, you cannot have a guy out there that can't see. That's the biggest reason why when there's swelling on a boxer's face, they're always trying to get it down, because if he can't see, the referee will have to stop it. Medically, they have to. I mean, anybody that's seen the old Rocky movies, the iconic line, cut me, Mick. My man couldn't see. You got to cut him open to get that swelling, let the blood drain out. But obviously that's frowned upon in this day and age, and rightfully so, because it's probably not the safest thing to do. I'm not a medical expert, but it doesn't sound like that's the good thing to do. So either way, I could totally understand why they, ruled it a no contest. And I was actually glad that Herb Dean did rule it a no contest and not a DQ like we saw a week ago.
Ah, interesting. So no one won. They're going to do a rematch?
So this is the unique part.
Was it that close, or was the dude that you were talking about just destroying him the whole time? So
this is the thing. It wasn't close in the sense of watching the fight. The first round was dominated by Leon, and we knew what was about to happen. Like, it was starting to trend in that direction. Leon had hurt him at the end of the first round, and we figured like, all right, he's going to either submit him or put him out at some point in the second round. Problem is, it happened 18 seconds into the second round. So to say, was it close or not, is all a matter of perspective. Yeah. But the true fighters know, dude, Leon was in control. No different than the week prior where we talked about Piotr Jan and Aljamain. It was like, even though it was a little bit closer on the card, Piotr was starting to take control of the fight. But in both of these instances, since it got stopped, you just don't know, because in the fight business, anything can technically happen. But the reason why I'm not 100% certain that a rematch will happen is because for Leon, he feels like he's already long overdue for a title shot. And I do agree with that. I think that he's overdue as well. And for him going back to fight Belal again is not going to put him any closer to that title shot. he has to fight a guy like a Kobe Covington, right? One of these guys at the 170 that have already, competed for the belt but didn't win it or still don't have it, in that regard, and let him try to get one of those fights. But if that's not going to happen, man, if I'm Leon, I'm waiting until this title shot happens, because it's just a waste of time. The more opportunity, the more times you go in that ring and it's not for a belt, the closer it's going to be that that something bad is going to happen and you're not going to get that title shot to happen for you. Tony Ferguson, he's a guy that, so you remember Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? The beast that beat Conor, right? So he had a guy that was his counter, his rival, Tony Ferguson. They were parallel, right? In terms of both on 9-fight winning streaks, both on 12-fight winning streaks, right? Just doing what they're supposed to do. And every time they were about to fight, something happened. Khabib got sick one time. Ferguson got hurt one time. So you could just see, like, back and forth. It would always be something that would come up. So Khabib ends up bumping up, fighting for the belt. He wins it. Ferguson, he's still having to recover. So now he has to take another fight. And he ends up getting beat. And it ends up costing him not only this great title shot because we felt that he matched up the best with Khabib out of any of the other guys at that weight.
I seen him on that
Absolutely,
card.
yes,
I think he was the fight
yes.
before the McGregor-Khabib card.
Yeah. Ferguson is good. He's very unorthodox and he can fight off his back, which makes it so intriguing against a guy like Khabib, who loves to take guys to the ground because it's right in his wheelhouse. But because he got beat, it threw off the tracks. So now Khabib didn't have to see him and we ended up missing out on it. And now Ferguson is probably never going to get that shot. I look at Leon in the same vein of, dude, you got to be careful here. Because you take another one of these type of fights where the guy is kind of dangerous, because if you fight a trash can or a bum, it's not going to help you. You got to fight somebody of some type of substance, right? But the more times you hop in that ring with those type of guys, the more the risk is that you could get caught. And that's all it has. If you get caught once, it can just ruin everything for Leon. So that's why I'm not 100% certain that it will happen in terms of rematch. And me personally, I don't want it to happen.
Okay.
Because just understand everything that's transpired for Leon over these past 2 years and knowing what happened to Tony Ferguson as well. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it equals up. Like Leon doesn't benefit from it at all. It's not equal. Whereas the dude that got his eye poked out, he's probably begging for it.
Oh, absolutely.
The upside's all there for him.
Yeah.
But with Leon, it seems like there's only downside with this fight. From what you're saying.
It definitely is, man. It definitely is. Like for Leon, the reason why he had to take this fight was, like I said, coming off of the 2-year layoff, right? And just being able to prove that, all right, there isn't any ring rust. I'm still the same Leon that we all knew I was. I still am long overdue for a title shot. And here you go. Let me display that. And he was doing it. He was doing exactly what was supposed to happen. And then the eye poke happened and that derailed everything. If the eye poke never happens, honestly, he wins that fight probably within that second or third round. And now we're talking about him facing, the champ at 170. Like that's what the conversation would be. But instead, this is what we have to deal with right now. Now we have to deal with the speculation of, well, should he go and fight this guy instead? Does he need another win under his belt to, justify going up to fight Kamaru Usman, who we know is a beast, So those are some of the things that are playing out with it. But it's going to be interesting, though.
Cool. Do you know off the top of your head what his ranking is?
Oh, yeah. So he's the third ranked welterweight behind Kamaru Usman, who's the champion at 170. And then you have Kobe Covington and Gilbert Burns. Now, both of those guys, Gilbert Burns and Kobe Covington, are coming off of losses, right? Usman cleaned them both out. I mean, Usman is a monster. He's literally wiped out half of this division. Wonderboy Thompson, Tyron Woodley, like a lot of those guys. And shout out to Tyron Woodley. He was the champ at 170 for a while. He's making his return this weekend on that same card that I was talking about with Stipe Miocic. So that's going to be an awesome card that you definitely want to check out, man. It's going to be good to see. But yeah, Leon, he's right in that mix. So you can see where the two guys that are ahead of him competed for the title. One was a former champion, term Kobe Covington, but both of them have been beat since then. Leon has just been waiting in the wings. So if you're Leon, if I'm not fighting one of those two guys, I'm fighting Usman. But the reason I don't
like even the other two are risky though.
Well, and if I'm Leon, I'm not even fighting the other two because I'm gonna say this: if I fight those two guys, who's Usman fighting? Because those are the top three contenders, right?
Fair.
Kobe Covington, Gilbert Burns, and Leon Edwards. So I don't want to see Kobe. I don't want to see Kamaru Usman fight the fourth ranked guy in terms of Jorge Masvidal. I don't want to see that. I want to see him fight against a legit top 2, top 3 guy. And you can make the case that Leon is in there in terms of potentially being a number 1 contender right now. Like you can make that case for him. So that's why for me, if you're Leon, you got to hold out for that title shot, man.
Sure. Interesting
but it's going to be, man, it's going to be good, man. It's a fun time right now, man. I love my UFC because it's year round. It never takes a break. And that's the beauty of it. Never is an off season, man.